你怎么这么同意？
哦，那就这个了。
啊，
那这里头，没人说的，没人说的命。Nanti cewek dalam tu siapa yang buat? Nanti siapa yang buat? Sekian pasti itu.
Yung这些，这些。
Begin with the Heart Sutra in English on page 2. Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness. Having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on up to no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell on the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shaivati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, suras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lamadam Gabu Jetsu
Yabe Yana Jabe Lo Kangi Lo Dini Nida Nanda Rapara Jene Dungu Jeze Zichere Nije Tukara Lepanze Kanda Sebe Tere Mare Mata Dumara Chize Rosa Puna Pachita Yama Juju Yambe So Roda Jero Nyama Nyelo Leche Jadro Roseche Mare Muse Dune Nyugu Chene Juze Rajena Dune Tajun Saju Tasu Yate Luzo Jase Tuye Jada Jada Juni Jedi Dalo Mise Nyabe Yana Arabazana Arabazana Arabazana
Say then, Chuki.
Chera Waze Daro Timu Mabara Sarane Kata Dimju Julu Towaye Rojo Pobe Nama So
Short mandala offering on page 16. Saji Buki
Joshe Medora Rira Nini Sanje Jindu Mide Puraye Roge Nanda Jina Chepara
Jetsun Lama
Tamba Jina Je Chugo Kala Jinse Tutune Cheda Zambe Duje Bemala Zaje Juje Japa Vato So
Edam Guru
Renamra Lagane Ataya Me
Refuge prayer on page 22. Sanjay Chodam
Soje Jonala Janju Bargo Dani Dagi Shuje Jibe Sonanje Nala Benjire Sanje Nufajo
Sanjay
Jejona Soje Jonala Janju Bargo Dani Dagi Shuje Jibe Sonanje Nala Benjire Sanje Nufajo
Sanjay
Jana Soje Jonala Janju Bargo Dani Dagi Shuje Jibe Sonanje Lola Benjire Sanje Nufajo Nyamu Tari Shue Tsangde Zawajina, Zayutsijina, Dene Luyu Mayina, Jide Jarve Nyukune, Tavi Yope Me Shinto, Sinjin Nara Subasik, Yejer Javi Dombindo, Shiso Chetajina, Kazi Uros Shizmare, Dene Luyu Mayinas, Dene Luyu Mayina said, Kisha Triza Kisha, Kone Kasi Mozo. Quando me gun jamba tan renji ne ba ma wa yi ka jin jo de ba ju lu wa ye ba je wa ju lo se ta so ma ro cha san tan de ka so mu ta ju se na so ge ani de ja rang yo ma tan de che to de de na mo ko ndo me gu ta ba ne ne to so be jambo to ani ani yo ma tan de ya So Lord Sami Tony, and the Bagam Mawa, Town, Counter, Taji Tony, and Yamatan Jogores. That the Dagi number of Mugita was over the Jambota, Renji, the Damawa Tony, on the Mado, Jenny, 만두가 지는 니박가는 거래 세다들이 좋대. 근데 소에 많이 나왔어. 근데 소에 많이 받지. 근데 바로 보면 그랬다고 소리야. 류가 그 구주 주보고 다니서 그러다. 아니 배谢谢党것을 谢谢党. 아니 배가 동부에서 동부 쏘라. 내가 다 간다를 내가 돈이 나와이나 아니 니박가는 거래 지는 제빈 유근에 근데 단지된 바다서 아니 장주스 말에 내용 그래서 제가 그 바로 보다 누구에다 차대로 된 신인 누구야 차대로 또 다 기회도 안에 장주스 바 지금 만두가 제네 장주스 바 지게 되는 데라 되자들이야 아니 지금 마그도니 마주 두번을 보지다 류도니 나주 저방에다 가버렸대 근데 저는 바로 보다 라니는 뭐가 차요 그래서 라니를 쥐어 타요 그래서 라니는 님의 지형 그래서 라니 자기도 매일 왔다 식으로 라니는 님의 지형 그래서 바로 보니까 바닥에 라니 자기도 벌써 님의 지형이나 아니 때문에 바로 보되 내가 마시게 싸버려서 거기는 님의 지형을 자기도 찾아러 와 근데 이거 아니 대 내가 바닥에 아니 내 손. 그래서 제대로 내 손을 지워는 내 손을 제제라 내 손을 눈에 맞다 그래서 드는 용고에서 드는 용구역이 제일 수치바는 라니가 제일 와서 드는데 라니는 이제 이거 용도다. 그리고 거래 진도 시용도 어떻게 되지?
verse 11. So, the worldly people who do not welcome but treat with
I
contempt
can't hear you.
the offerings of the victors who are like fire heated by ashes. So they burn in hells and elsewhere. So this is on verse 11. If you look at the verse 11, so we just read verse 11. And now this verse 11 actually emphasizes on the importance of importance of of addressing one's contemptuous behavior. What it says, it is by following the bodhisattvas, who are how the bodhisattvas actually integrating their followers, the way the bodhisattvas uh, gathering or integrating their followers by very skillful means, or by speaking very softly and the words that are not offensive, choosing a right word before the bodhisattva express his words, making sure the word that is to be expressed doesn't become offensive to the listeners, and being very careful with their behaviors, either physical, verbal, and even mental behaviors. In the same manner, we as our followers, we also have followers of the Bodhisattva's practice. We should do so with very carefully when we are speaking to someone, talking to someone, and choosing the right word and making sure that intentionally you are not actually choosing the word that is offensive to others. And if we are unable to one is unable to address our contemptuous behavior, and if we let ourselves remain under the power of these contemptuous behaviors, And regardless of to whom we speak and what kind of words that come into one's mouth, we just express it. And what kind of behavior that you want to, physical behavior that you want to behave, we just let it be without having a concern for others. And that kind of behaviors will really become a downfall, or it becomes an obstacle for one's own development of practice of compassion and bodhicitta. And if we do so, we do not know the individual who has been offended by us. That individual may be the bodhisattvas, even emanation of Buddhas and so on. We as ordinary beings, we may not know who they are. And so we should be very careful by choosing the right word and by, maintaining a right behavior, physical and verbal behavior, so that it doesn't become offensive to others. If we do not do, and if it's let whatever that you want to behave and whatever you want to say to others, if you keep doing that, and it may become a cause for taking rebirth in a very unfortunate realms in the future. So this cause of taking rebirth in unfortunate realms is not caused by anyone else. It doesn't caused by some outside, but the cause of taking rebirth in the floor realms or the unfortunate realms is created by oneself.
장주 스모소 있나요? 아니 랑 되전도 체도 아니 명하게 주가 두고 대주에 말해서 도와줘다. 다 랑 너가 되지 되게 랑이 장주 스모 이바데 더 도고야 말해. 저다 바로 거기 이는 겉들 무야게 가서 차들을 먹여놔시. 저한테 이제 장주스 버서가 가르나 세제 탐지 산지살이야 그야 들어와 세제 탐지 산지살 그거나 근데 준비되어 수만 나셔래 준비 대버 대비 좋아져요 제가 준비 대비 때니 산지살이야 그야래 맞지 근데 너희들과 자기면서 니지 더 봐야나 그러면 어때다 그런데 다져서 되는 지하기만 하다 거래야 나도 내가 되니 대 두자고로 나서만에 근데 그 사람들이 산지살에 들어야지 또 산지살에 들어야지는데 이제 춘이 되고 때마다 때서 그 여대 라니가 모두 도와줘서 그들 이제 장주서 장주서 교박을 나니다 시행되잖아야 돼 개체지 정도 같은데 이제 되잖아다 라다마라 여러 가지 변도 되고 가지 변도 되는 여러 이데 안도가 없어이네 변장보지도 아니 바로 그런 게 생각한다. 아니 틈바지 그런 데 봐도 틈바지니 아니 가게 가서 그러지 계시야 나래 나녀대 나래 그런 게 상도 틈바지니 좀 매일이 두었으니 내가 마도 아니 라산인데 거래지 제거했어. 지 내가 많이 비거래더니 생각 말아야 거다. 근데 매우 더니까 지난주 저번에 때와이나 아니 바로 거기 바로 거들 레고메가 있어 한수 라니를 쳐고卷통이 대체로 이제 제윈주군이 자기서 같이 니가서 내주지와 어디에 근데 완전 자주서 말은 무슨 님이 지어이나 내가 지금 있어 그래 자주서 말은 대체 와지래 되러 자주 그새 도저히 말이 차대로 와 그래서 되게 준비했다 라슈가 차대로 와 그때 너들이야 너무 무슨 준주는 말이야 근데 가만 또 사백에 자체는 컨트롤이 지금 용을 했어요 근데 제가 컨트롤에서 유지하셨어 봐 이마다 컨트롤에 대해서 많이 봐 제가 자주서 봐 지금 컨트롤에서 와이나 근데 가만 또 사백에 자체는 컨트롤이 지금 용을 했어도 와 근데 일단 조명하기 제가 된 거로 왔더니 이게 아니 Charges about the name Joina, and I have a ling of us already, and the ling of a day monkey, and the Rani, Mabang is on the Chia, Naso Duminoya. That managing the charges about to the Sinja and Sanji Saria, in a charges of Rani, the Jen to Tanji, Taji Manani, quite a reasonable image of Zashara. And they were managing the Jella Sanji Saria query, Chalani Marini, Nazon Broke Chavara. Chanti, just charges not so in there. She in the town, the Turkey, what you might do in a permanent never. Permanent never child. Brother, the name was to someone.
So therefore, when the bodhisattvas are, you know, are engaging in actions of integrating their disciples or their followers, they utilize all the skillful means of integrating their followers or the gathering their followers or the disciples by choosing the right word to speak, choosing the right teachings and teachings that are suitable for the followers or the disciples. Because when choosing the right teachings is something that is very, very important, because it is by teaching we can only transform the other person or the followers or the disciples' mind. It is not just by giving some kind of blessings and you know and some kind of power that can transform the other person's mind. This is, however, is not going to happen. It is only by means of giving the right teachings, choosing the right time. The teachings that you are giving is the right suitable for the inclination or the disposition of the disciples or the followers. It is for this Buddha has stated that the stains or the negative karmas of the beings may not be washed by the water, nor the sufferings of other beings can be cleansed by the hand of the Buddha. But it is only by giving the right teachings, which is giving the teachings of how things really are, will transform their will liberate sentient beings. So to give them the teachings, choosing the right teaching is something that is very important. It emphasizes again and again. Because if one do not know how to give the teachings, how to choose the right teachings, then this is not going to be, effective for the disciples. After all, the Dharma teaching is to transform the mind of the listeners. If the teachings is not very suitable for the mind of that individual, regardless of how profound the teachings that you may be giving, may not become fruitful. So therefore, although suddenly the bodhisattvas will know that the suitability of the teachings for their followers, but we as ordinary beings, we may not be able to understand the mental dispositions or the inclination of the followers. We should at least have some kind of understanding of the disposition and the inclination of the other beings. Because otherwise, without even knowing their interest, a little interest, or even having an assumption of their interest. If we give the teachings, it may become more harmful than beneficial. So, so it is therefore, we it is for this again here by choosing the right teachings, choosing the right word, and motivated by compassion and sense of caring for the disciples. So without doing so, if we use all kind of words that are very offensive to the followers or the listeners, and then since that is not very suitable for them, their mentality, it's not, since the word that you are choosing or expressing is not something that is suitable for their mentality, then they might become agitated, and even there's a chances of getting, angry or generating anger, and that is the worst case. If the individual generate angers, then the teacher who is giving the teaching is a bodhisattva, then individual will be accumulating a tremendous amount of negative karma, so that his or her accumulation mirrors for the 1,000 eons will be destroyed in one instant of generation of anger. So therefore, it is very important that even if one is bodhisattvas, always choose the right words, right teachings, right time to give the teachings. Otherwise, on all this, things will happen to oneself and that of all other beings.
자다들은데 자주 선배지가 어느 진이 또 송도와 단지 말을 쓸 자야래 말도 있네요. 네 쇼는 다 자주 선배지가 어느 단이 뒤져도 다 자주 선배 줘봐 캐나 거의 송도로 와서 다 말도 있네요. 뭐 말이야 다 산지 위에 들어와서 거세진 제대로 뭐봐 거산지에 유인지 나비쇼도 손대고요. 제단다 세진이 제대로 뭐가 산지에 유인은 산지비 체리야 때문에 자주스마 이바도 모든 거 그러와. 자주스마 마셔로 산지로 해주요 말와. 제가 말을 있는 뭐가 산지 투에지다 산지에 유바지. 근데 산지 마지막에 뭐도 말도 자주스마 차고 유바. 제가 자주스마 마셔는 양으로 더 장고에 기침을 제가 자주스마 차와다 엔터서도 나는 제국으로 가나 자주스마 마셔는 나는 제국으로 데려는 거와. 제가 말은 좀 나중 준도 다 지금 현달이야 이제 시비거리야 제 바로 생각하던 터봐 바로 그 디바도 터봐 그다 바로 그 생각하려야 도둑으로 왔니 마우탄이 맞지야 류도는 난저 저가 제거했지 다 소속 나래 제거했지 제가 소속 준도 도스 전시에 스마제니 네 마주집에 가래 나주집에 가래 안다 나도 그런데 되죠 야고 이바와 제가 단단히 뭐 나네 제나 근데 준비해야 나네 거는 것도 되니 야고 잘 먹으러 되려라 아니네 자주기 세뇨 길로뇨 제게 나네 제게지나 근데 거의 준도 자주 스마 차비 거리네야 신도들이 자주도 맞아본 거니네 소다 관두지도 이제 들어오고 와 제가 다 얘도 들을 거래요 다 얘도 야주에 런도가 내야 돼. 와, 다저런 거면서 돌아면은 돌아돼야 가지면은 가지돼야 어다 제 내가 제가 매주 다루고 보지 않아서 그러고 먹고 지야 돼. 이나니죠. 다 개체 쉬게 간다. 무인에서 때문에 런도가 내야 된다. 배도 제주. 근데 런도가 내때 말라 런도가 내서게 강사대 라니 보고 해야 돼. 라니도 센다니 보고 해도 기침고 센다니 보면 이게 제대로 나도 내 대해서 그러고 말아. 어떤 데는 서로 되는 거예요. 그래서 아다 생각이 보고요. 생각이 보이면은 바로 변도를 템페케지 하나 요대 계속 하는 거. 어디네 이제 막아도 저기서 막 마셔 보면 이제 얘들을 여기 집에 차네. 그래서 계속 하셔야 되죠.
So those are all practice of the bodhisattvas that we must engage. We must follow this practice. Because just by listening to these teachings and not contemplating, not thinking, and not practicing, then it's not going to help us. Just by listening, it is just mere gathering the information and knowing some new knowledge is not something that is very helpful. This is not the teachings of the Dharma that we are receiving here. So, so we need to the motivation that we should have while listening to the such teachings is to practice to the fullest extent of one's ability. This is the motivation that is required. So, as the followers of the the vehicles, the high vehicles, we should do so with whatever the practice that we do is to become a bodhisattva. Because it is through becoming oneself as a bodhisattva can then only lead to the state of enlightenment. Because without entering into bodhisattva's path, there is no way that one can become enlightened. In order to enter into the path of the bodhisattva, we need to go through all kinds of trainings and practices and working with one's mind very carefully with mindfulness. And so all these practices are for the benefit of other beings. Because our very aim towards one's practice is not only to gain the benefit of oneself, but one should dedicate one's practice and spiritual realization is for the benefit of other sentient beings. Of course, there are many other means that we can benefit other beings by giving them a fooding, providing shelter, clothing, and so forth. But out of all, giving them a teachings of what is to be abandoned and what is to be adopted is the best way of working for the other welfare of other sentient beings. That is the best, beneficial act that we can provide, we can act for this for other sentient beings. So then here again the question is that when we were giving them a teachings of what is to be adopted and what is to be abandoned, then we should do so with having a little understanding of the other individual's inclination and dispositions. Because without having a little knowledge of others' disposition, what kind of teachings that they are interested in, and regardless of how profound your teaching may be, how vast and profound your teaching may be, it's not going to benefit other beings. So, so therefore, in brief, that whenever we are speaking to others, we should do so with very careful, very careful means, by choosing a right word, by not engaging in all kind of actions that are offensive to others. And right from now, we have to train ourselves. And how do we actually prevent ourselves from engaging in divisive speech, engaging in hard speech and an offensive speech to other, offensive speech, or how do we prevent ourselves? What kind of practice that is required for oneself to really to prevent ourselves from engaging in physical actions that are contemptuous behavior and so on. So therefore, those are the practice, the prerequisites for the practitioner of the Bodhisattva's way or Bodhisattva's path.
난데 월 생기게 타위업에 mention도 와서 타위업에 mention데 무슨 mention 보지 다 내가야 매기 티라데 사바데 막가셔 그래 무슨 만다데 그래 오면 통화 말고 티라 월 가셔 봐 다들 티라데 바차는 월 매 타고도 여러 봐 제가 타위업에 mention도 와서 배터신도 배려지래 대배래 타위업에 mention도 와서 pena tayo yobe meg mane mo la bani chunro ina mo mo ma tha che kambar ji pa ina or me ro ane kambar tsiro la bani jin la bani tsiro tongbo me yo ha bana mo la ba chu mar la ka pa ma ro ina ko tha kan yo he tong mo do wa de na she ge ane cha chu sa ba se da mo mo tong ya ba ji mare tayo yobe me na she ene ji re sa 그래서 아니 지네 속에 아니 장주스바 예다마이 다나마 과제 아니 네메 쇼니 아니 메소라 제레사 태위요베 메이도 센진나로서 바식스 센제스야다 오늘야 장주스바 네메 제게 지네 바신제다서 아니 라니 네메 제다 장주스바 예다마이 마시바 제니들야 네메 제와이나 아니 라니 메소마 제니 아니 네위 산에다 단나와도 산에제도 하는지 그런 것이 거로 제가 가는 내에 맥 도스레스 태위업에 매나 나라버져와이나 매대가 라바스에 땅감바스가 나지게 아니스제 자주스만 님의 집에 내는 바되겠을 때 나와래 아니마 공초레스 내에 매나서 왔다서 농해녀니 내에 맥스레스 들으셔
So he again, let's read this verse 11 in his verse. It says, "Worldly people do not welcome, but treat with contempt the offsprings of the victors, who are like a fire hidden by the ashes, so they burn in the house and elsewhere." For instance, because now the bodhisattvas, we talked about, we discussed on this verse already during our last teaching sessions, because the offsprings of the victor here refers to the bodhisattvas. And we don't know who is bodhisattva, who's not bodhisattvas. That is what it means. The offsprings of the victors are like who are like a fire hidden by the ashes. This is so without knowing the fire underneath the ashes, beneath the ashes, and if we step onto it, it will burn one's feet or even body. In the same manner, when we were interacting with someone, we can't, by just looking at someone's whose physical appearance, who might seem to you as a rude and someone who is disrespectful, just by this kind of minor appearance, cannot, we cannot really draw a conclusion by saying such and such person is not a bodhisattva. He or she may be appear to you as a rude or very disrespectful, but it might be your own thought. Who knows? So without knowing that, without knowing who they are and what kind of spiritual, the realization, the level of realizations that he or she has. Without knowing that, if we engages in contemptuous behavior or contemptuous actions towards such individual, or saying something that is offensive to this individual, then therefore then what it says, the bodhisattvas are like a fire covered by the ashes. If you touch that or if you step onto it, it will burn your feet and even body. So what it meant here is now, if we, without being very careful, if we speak bad about the individual, if individual turn out to be a bodhisattva, then one will be burned by the fires of the hell in the hell realm.
저는 되게 말도 제가 나거나 말도 준더니 아니 제가 만들어 볼까요? 자자 제고야 됐은 거예요. 왜나 장교스 마세야데 저 류다 차로단이 체험도 제가 장교스 바이나 라마이 그거 말을 두고이 그거 말을 다와이 그거 말을 장교스 바이나 포이 그거 말을 이미지 뭐이 그거 말을 제가 장교스 마세야데 땡이 전에 저게 제도에 말에 류의 아니 거기 자루단이 제도에 말이죠. 근데 대외협에 맨날 차들이 말로 들어야 자주선가 대외협에 맨날 꼬주 차들에서 와. 근데 이제 말도 주도 좀 많이 많이 특수를 해야 나. 아니 대나시게 류단이 지난주 가서 매번 대화로서 간다 생각이야 저도 다양하게 차 상주에 말해서 제가 다들 제와이나 바로 보다 장주스 매면 소소가 하고 말해 대외에 매나이래 바로 보다 장주스 만들 지면이나 아니 소소 빼서 왔네 소소 대랭을 친구지 사바라와 근데 이제 랭을 되게 나라니 뭐가 팽을나네 내가 팽을해서 내가 팽들이 제려야 내가 나야 동에 강요 부여데 노지를 마도 내가 러닝에서 동에 너무 굉장히 말아 말아서 늘 제세에 그래야 아니 매일 제서 나는 제대로 참아된 용도 제주마다 제로 제동에 용도 나의 동은 못 참아놓고 아니 그 동안 못 참아내 용도 하다 매일 용도 안다 제동은 유효가 되잖아 그 그런 매일 제세에 그래야 아니 제가 내 지금 동네 참아내 용도 하다 지금 공연설 제대로 제래 나올 제래 나의 동에 전도를 제대 전도 동에 예달 제대 예달 동에 그래서 예달 제대 제공 동에 어다 제 참아가 예달 참아가 용도에 제래 전도에 있는 제래 제세 동에 나서 전도에 있는 차의 동에서 차의 동에서 나와 참아 용도에 제로 어떤 데 아니 그 잘하면 동에 되는 요소 제래 라니 사그레스 네인데 대사제기 주소 아니 가서 그랬다 좀 그거와 또 다른 데서 제가 다들 준다는 소소 아니 시에야 제 생각은 내가 맞죠 저한테서 아니 방을 해서 저랑 내가서 방을 해서 또
So it is now by looking at these teachings, what it actually teaches us as an ordinary practitioner, or the initial practitioner, whenever we interacting with any individual or societies or any categories, regardless of who they are, we should be mindful of our actions of the body, speech, and mind. Especially the actions of our mind. Because the actions of our mind is something that is very subtle. It can be generated in one instant. It doesn't require any efforts. Because we have this habit of looking at someone, and then as soon as you see that person, and if you don't like that person, and you have some kind of motivation, some kind of intention that is arises in us, that is a negative mental actions. It's nothing to do with that person, but the individual who think bad about that person is the one who is actually accumulating bad karma. So therefore, maintaining our intention when we are interacting with some individual is very important. And similarly, maintaining one's physical behaviors and verbal. So, because then, again here, we do not know who this person is. We might know that person's name. We might say, "Oh, I know this guy. He lives there. I've seen him, and I met him, and I know him." But we really don't know whether this individual is bodhisattva or he may be a beings who have gained certain levels of spiritual realization. Because bodhisattvas and those highly realized beings doesn't necessarily appear as a monk, as a tuku, or recognized, reincarnated lama, nor someone who can be a very attractive looking. This is nothing to do with their appearance, which we call is a very, extremely, hard to understand who they are. In other words, it's very subtle, so that it's extremely subtle, that we will not be able to know that whether they are bodhisattvas or whether they are beings who are highly, who has high levels of realization, of high levels of spiritual realizations. So it is therefore, it's always that when one is speaking one's behavior, in other words, it doesn't really become offensive to others, doesn't offend others. It's very important. Because if we do so, then we are accumulating ourselves. We are accumulating a karma that one takes rebirth in the lower realms. Then we will experience all kind of, unwanted. We will have all kind of unwanted experiences, having taken rebirth within the lower realms or the unfortunate realms. Just as even if we take a rebirth within human realms, we undergo all kinds of sufferings. Mainly suffering, the four kinds of suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death. But when we think about the suffering of lower realms, such as suffering in the hell realms, predator realms, and animal realms, they have all kind of sufferings that are very the sufferings that inconceivable. When we talk about the suffering of all those lower realms, especially the hell and in the predator realm, it is inconceivable for us. So therefore, right from the beginning, right from now, we have to be very mindful of our own actions of the body, speech, and mind with regard to someone, with regard to other individuals.
따뜻한 말은 나중에 주는 말도 사사집에 기침도 제가 소소한 얘기 마주치하다 류주랑도 바로고 생각하면 되었지. 바로 생각하면 되어 와기라니 저 주연지에서 바로 보다 가다 컨트롤을 했지. 라니 저 주연지에서 자 대인이다 서서히 뭐 자사도 동거라는 얘기 마주나 류주랑한테 파셔고 바로 보시면 돼요. 맞아. 컨트롤이나. 저도 바로 컨트롤 나한테 자왕에 받지 랭에 받지. Then Parobo Condolamba Tegi, Langaba Tegi, Yan Parobo Mamba, G. Jenny Meto Mandroyaki, Juche. They Jenny Meto Mandroyaki, Juche, Jenna with the running chair, Parobo Condola, Jenna running chair one. Rania, they are walking in Machico. That Parobo, they have Condola, Rani, too. Young Situjala, Nodaji, Najujo. All running control, running Langabasa, running Langabasa, then Parapo change. Or the next on change, Martha Langabate, pay Shivji Mombo, or Sativa, Langabasa. Chesa, Chivi change in Parapo Langabasa, Parapo Langabate change in Suja the Langabasa. That Langabasa to Jillian, devoted to nature mother you dog. Chesa, Langabag devoted to me. Les ambions doing the deche. Deche doing leather geva. Doing pitching leather mageva. Sorry, Langaba. Or two genus. Just a lay, never the legislative thing, and then so the Junani. Shelia. The Shan nurture the image of the Valia nurture some Labonaja, Dosh, Jewish and to go on the one. Ko Montato in Parapo second Potaya. And the Kishi Karine, Zalamaji and Parapo second powder, then the Niger watch of the Jew. Changes to in Antos, Zalajew, then I am in you know, so the land of Masai Cheto, Zalajew, the kitchen inside.
So it is the practice of being very careful, mindful, should be a part of our day-to-day practice. Because if we are not being very mindful of one's own behaviors, then that really becomes a cause for accumulation of negative karma for others and that of oneself, as well as oneself. For instance, if we demonstrate ourselves, or if we have, show some kind of contemptuous behavior towards others, with the motivations of looking down to that individual, and then the other individual realizes that you are actually looking down to that individual, then he or she instantly get uncomfortable. In worst case, will become angry towards yourself. So here now, you have already, the one has already been accumulated negative karma by having this contemptuous behavior towards others. But that again contributed, it also again become a creator of the negative karma of other beings, because that other individual gets unhappy with you. So, those kind of behaviors are very, very important. It's just very important because it makes unhappy oneself and that of other beings. If you, with bad motivations, you want to say, so you want to speak some kind of, you want to say something that is offensive to others, at the moment that you may not know that you are not unhappy, you may not know that you're unhappy, because at that moment you have been deceived by your negative thoughts, and it actually blinds your discernment, so that you think that you are doing something that other individual deserve. But in a very subtle way, the motivation that you have is distracting. It is actually destroying your peace of mind. It's actually affecting your peace of mind. So then uh, you are actually, suffering at the moment, you're unhappy at the moment, but you don't really, one is not aware that one is unhappy. Because if one, so now here the very one thing that we can prove ourselves that we're unhappy is because if we see someone and if you wanted to look at someone that's very, in a very if you want to have some kind of behavior that is contentious behavior to others, or you want to say something bad to others, you have some kind of motivation in you that you want to say some bad to others. If you examine very carefully at that moment itself, then you know that you're not happy at that moment, and you are actually unhappy person at the moment. Unhappiness is something that we all try to get rid of, but we are actually deliberately, embracing this unhappiness within us by generating that kind of thoughts towards others. So, so, so it is, even one word will destroy the peace of other person's mind, uh, peace of mind, and also that one word that you have spoken also destroys the mind, peace of one's own mind. Even by way of looking to others, if one glance can make it destroy the peace of other person's mind, by destroying the other person's mind, and if other person react towards you, if other person react accordingly, then that again destroys your peace of mind. So this kind of behavior, if we are not being very mindful of these behaviors, it always become a cause for accumulation of negative karma of oneself and that of all other beings.
도단이나 저한이 사원이 토마콜로는 줘야 배나보다 저런이 돈이 떠서 도란이 그 같은 돈이 자기 시험을 이제 뭐서 지난해 쇼게야 나리 주는 쇼게니 코로나에 걸줘야 대단히 맞지를 게 제현 내비 저와 맞지에서 나자샤야 이해는 배비 저와 간도도 제고 와서 소소 당자시라다 팽바타 안에 뭔가 소소게 도저 신주를 వచ్చి 쇼게니 뭔가 봐 시험내비 저와 가르친도 연배비 저와 가르친도 시험내비 저와 진도나 소소게 되니 샤도체 연배비 저와 진도나 소소게 야란체 뭐하체 어디나 숨고요와 때나지가 너무 로사바시하고 로당보시하더니 소소 팽바타네 당자샤네 로디나네 소소 아니 연배비 저와 와야다 연배비 저와 두야 아니 소소 메시지 보지 제야 제가 무슨 메시지 보지는데 소리는 열어봐 와 그러면 참말에 로아세지 진짜라 소소 대체도 쓰이는 되되고 열어봐 다 메시지미잖이네 소소 메시지 보지지야 참말에 상로도 열어봐 이내다고 지고 요약의 주제로 당하기 지고 요약의 주제로 가지네요 주제 주도단도 마시니 근데 메시지가 잘로 되는 용어도 하잖아 대원 되자 대유주도 되고 좀 마시 대원 되자 대유주도 같이 대유주도 동양 주죠 루당 마시니 이해서도 대유주도 그랬대 루당 마시니 동양 주로 용어로 와 제가 동양 되자 동양 주 파마시 대원 되자 대유주도 마시 되는 부분 그래요 제가 다음으로 로스와 대는 소소 대지 야고치 메세 셀라카이 바테 로 사바테 방보시가 만들어내는 로데나 소도 찍어지면서 찍어지네. 아니 시안내가 맞지와 지시안에 주나 아니 시안에 패도지야. 마주하는 시안내가 맞지가 상관제 되는지요. 제가 이 더더더라니 로데는 것이 찍어지지와는 시안을 안에 되어요. 말도 이해를 맞지봐 Or the Mejibar Tawani Yenmatiba, so that you will Kagi Jamia, so that you will Kalaya Ramarwa, so that you will Tura Ramar, Mazabuya Tura in a yen to Uri, Mazazia Kala in a yen to Uri, so the old times again, Shan to Uri. At the name, the so the yes and the Rani, Soya to the Kadichin for Yimata, and the table in the Tony, and the Razavandi Naya, Shan never met yes. Yen Pede Ponto to Rosa. Today, Joanna and the running Rasa and the Digidona, Digit, who you Yimaradua. What the Digit, Santa the Operators.
So it is with this, we are now, living at the end of the year 2023, and the 2024 will be next 2 days. Will become 2024 will be next 2 days. So now here, we as the practitioners, our New Year resolution should be the commitment of not harming others. This should be our New Year's resolution, and that our resolution should be something that whatever the actions that I may take, I will be taking so with mindfulness. This should be our resolution, and this kind of motivation should be part of our practice now, because our motivation plays a very strong role in our practice, our spiritual practice, or other actions that are negative. The motivation is the key to our actions of the body and speech. So, in our day-to-day practice, practice of being mindful must be begin from the beginning of our day. In other words, by cultivating a very strong motivations that I'm alive today, I woke up very safe and sound with good health. But my purpose for this day is to benefit other beings. If possible, I will do to the fullest extent of my ability to help other beings. If that is not possible, I will at least refrain from harming others. And this motivation should be cultivated within one's mind every morning when we wake up. If one is able to habituate oneself with such motivations, then that really makes your day, begins one's day with a positive energy, in other words. And similarly, when one retired at night, that before put one's head on the pillow, one should examine what kind of actions, what one may have done on that particular day. If one sees that something that you have done is offensive to others, commit not to engage in such actions again, repeat that kind of actions again, and have a great regret and remorse. And if one finds that one has done something that is beneficial for others, one should rejoice and commit to continue such actions from next day as well. So, because In this way, we will be able to be happy person. We were actually engaging in action that become a cause for our happiness. Because happiness is the one that we all desire to achieve. Although we do not know how to accumulate the cause that give rise to happiness, we are thinking that we are actually accumulating cause of happiness, but it turns out to be a cause of suffering. This is what that is happening. Because happiness that we have, all those contaminated happiness that we have are in nature, are all sufferings. So it is important, very important, for us to really to have these motivations. You know, the motivations that is not just generated for one time and then you forget it. Rather, that such motivations must be very strong and firm within us. You know, in a very consistent manner. So therefore, just not harming others, not being offensive to others. It's not just to become oneself happy, but this is what we should be doing. They deserve our help. They deserve our beneficial act. Because whatever we have, whatever we do, is all depends upon others. Without depending on others, we'll not even be able to, able to get a cup of water. Everything that we have is depending upon others. Even just one's breathing in and out is depending upon other factors. We cannot do this independently, such as fooding, clothing, everything. Our very existence and sustenance of our life is dependent upon others. By reflecting upon such, other beings deserve our kindness. So therefore, we should treat others in a bit of very positive behavior.
All the name to teacher domain dollars. Jadan de Carson Jadan, college of this by Naya, Shendu actually Taki about Dugure Mato, and the Yelia, Pemba never, and the child is Judith teachers, that Judith teachers. Then as we are mine, Judith, you can tell you be made the Sajana of things, Tema Nipa Masoni, and the Judith teacher, Javi. That the Java and the Java said the Sanji Javi and then don't be door can't give Sinjay Mate Jor. Then they took the Napachi, who got to the Kata doors and do Janjus about Kangi, that got the Janjus about Kwanma, Kankolia, or Sumba Nama, Jim Bukaria, Janjus about Kangi, or Janjus about Kangi, and then Sinjay Mate and Juya Kirani, Juna Member to Sagreta, Juna Tubote, Magi Maju Tubota, Lugidini, Janam, Muyapa, that's all. Then you do the Nama, then you running away, Loti to do the big trencher ready, Injimi Bambo is. Then you could drop to the Naya. Chanjus of a Jibayinaya. Horrible suggestion, running Mate by Jew, and near the treasure to you, the Injimi Bambo is. Yes, horrible at the name, Tona Yapo maybe running the judge, Lugi, Najota and Munda and Makait and Duata, Europe, Makai told in the Bedo language. Makai told in the Tomanians, Titanians, Yodra. So the day you go Janjus Basanity, 쓰레기가 통하는 예도만으로 통 도와주고 하고 그런 것보다 저런 거 전에 제가 가리는 배신 도단지 배우도 쓰레기 그 지와 있는 배 진진이 들어오는 정도 제가 다 가지고 배기 저기 때문에 제가 다 이렇게 되시면 가이네 어제 생각나야 포도를 되고 있는 것 같은 많이 봐 근데 내님도 근데 대내에 소소 생겨야 지방에 또 앞에 되는 거잖아. 어떤 요구로 왔다는 식으로 해서 어째서 대나 많이 봐. 라고 류기 나주어래. 나기 마주어래. 바로 보게 문제 봐도 틀문제 비 라니를 주제는 이유가 있는데 이미 빵을 해서 라우드에 대해서 빵을 해서 마빠이나 바로 보고 라니는 통 안되면 맞다. 내가 지울 내가 지나 라니 장에서 이미 전에 바로 보고 내가 마사고 내가 마사로 있는 근데 바로 보면 해서는 제로 해서 어떤 순간이죠. 강의 세제 마대 자주서 막 강의 라니의 세제 마대가 주야가 라니의 주연 뜻인데 근데 라니의 비 이거도 빵을 해서 근데 두대 나 빵이지 고려를 갖다 손도 왔을 때
So then it says, therefore, now, therefore it says, again we read once again the verse 11 where it says, worldly people do not welcome but treat with contempt the offsprings of the victors who are like fire hidden by ashes. So they burn in the hells and elsewhere. And then the verse 12 where it says, therefore, in the cause of the Jew, the victor taught the vows and brief, through which, if you make an effort, you warn often sentient beings. So now, even the bodhisattvas being very careful when they are speaking to others and their behaviors, making sure that they do not offend sentient beings, other beings, even if they are not the bodhisattvas, even they are not someone who has gained certain level of spiritual realizations. On the day-to-day life, on the day-to-day practice, the bodhisattvas look at their own behaviors, and as soon as they find that something that is negative, and they just get rid of that or eliminate, avert them immediately, and practice to have to engage in practice of having a positive actions of the body, speech, and mind, so that whenever that one come across and whenever one interact with others, that one's behavior doesn't become offensive to others. Bodhisattvas are constantly engaging in this practice without a break, what it says. So it is for this, if you look at the great beings, the one, the vivid example that we have is His Holiness. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. When we look at him, whenever he interacts with any levels of people, any kind of people, any categories, very suit his behaviors of the body and the words as he is spoken is something that is very inspiring, something that is very encouraging to others. So this is how we should follow, by adopting the positive behaviors of the body, speech, and mind. And even our way of, the way we think of others and the way we look at others are not something that become offensive to others. So in brief, that says one should always guide one's own behaviors of the body, speech, and mind. What it says, no one else will really, become a cause for transformation of one's own, negative behaviors of the body, speech, and mind. It is only oneself need to create this cause that become a transformation of one's uh, negative behaviors of the body, speech, and mind. And this should be done on the basis of daily practice. Any questions?
I have, where I live at, people are, I was telling Tim about it too, people are quite different there and it's hard, I don't want to talk to them always and to be around them. And just to be friendly, just say hi and bye and that's it. And I have a lady friend too, and I always catch her in lies and and I don't want to be by her and stuff. And so what do I do about that?
지난 남긴 미님도 다치소 날려다 미 담에나서 님지 저 집에 가보다 미 야도 담에나서 대님들 장도 저 연구를 봤어 남기 저제 디가브다 야즉 소소원에 제 남겨를 다 지간다야 계시다는 선대야 삼성이야 보도를 할 내용으로 봤어. 다디 지레셔도 뭐디 되었는 근데 용도 써야 되셔. 남게 말하는데 딱 한다. 내가데 예스. 근데 딱 치트다 말하는 남게 동문들의 임다. 지 그뒤에 지 가서라지 전시되는 소리지. 계제를 때 세계의 소리 남게도 뭐라고 무슨 되거든요. 계산되는 몫이도 있어서 대조 가르쳐 오랬어요. 근데 가르쳐 왔어. 근데 다시 가르쳤어요. 근데
나 당보대 소소지도는 또 만들게 가려야 당보대 소소문이다 바로 가르친다 맞잖아. 소소문이다 시행문이야 지지어서 배우 당보대 소소 꾸노야 빨리 기치 못해 당보로 있다네. 내들이 시행내비 되고 뭐지 시행내비 계정이지 시행내비 나중에 소소문이 다져야 돼. 그만 당보지. 다들 다져야는 나도 뭐여서 소소지도는 마음이다 나도 물을 가려야 되니 소소쇼게 다져야 돼. 소소 시스템을 제대로 맞아야지. 야야 제대로 정말 어저께는 다져야 돼. 자자 제거서 소소도 도스 예전에 소소도 소리지네. 끝나고 여기 친구래. 얘네들 나게 샤다 쇼리야. 그게 뭐 힘을 그래 얘네들 파베게 또도 요걸 얘는 소소도 꾸노 잡고지다. 소소가 제일 때문에 지나와이나 가르치네요. 배도 주문인데 지금 다니버디 다 예다 그러고 지도지시는 데라 저는 거 도는 데라 이바이나 다도 지소소 센터니 보는 거지. 그걸로도 놓는데 이바이나네. 근데서야 과거에 주나 그걸 레저자고 이렇게 좀 그래. 괜찮아져도 되는 레저 요말했어. 지난게 최단 많이 비춰서 나는 시와이네. 매다 저러야 창조제가 말 저는 이제제가 말 소설이 이제 마치 먹창제 마치 소설 통해요 말 근데 소설도 말이야 제 내가 집에 가로 있는 소설의 대제용 말 강의 책을 했어요 알아서 내가 좀 읽어줘야 돼 기초만 찍더래 다양한 소설도 지금 되고 이러면은 이는 거 들으려 되어 있네요 너한테 내가 내려도 그 소설 기본 찍어서 배우지 말해 제가 저가 지나죠. 그래서 저 뭐가 지나 내가 지나야 한 것도 내 사실은 되게 집에도 처음으로.
So, as we discussed earlier, that so far as one's own self is concerned, having a good motivation, positive motivation is very, very important. For instance, if one is ready to interact with others or any societies, before we actually interacting with others, we should have a very good motivations. And if you have a positive motivations that is motivation of not harming others and refraining from harming others. If you have these motivations, when one is actually engaging or interacting with that individual, then this actually enables you to be very careful when you are actually interacting with that individual. So the motivation that you have in the beginning should not be forgotten when you are actually interacting with the individual and other people. One's motivation that we have should be maintained, and the flavor, in other words, of the motivation should influence, the flavor of that motivation should influence our interaction with other beings. That's one thing. And to answer to your question, that if someone who is very close to yourself, very close friend, and have a very good connection, then in a very right time, choose the right time and right circumstances, and take this opportunity to try to advise that individual. You know how harmful it is for him or herself to engage in that kind of speech, or lying or divisive speech, whatever it is. We should take this opportunity. But again, even if one is very close to that individual, choosing a right time is very, very important. When we are, when you have a feeling of that, or that is the right time for me to advise, and making him or her to change herself, or refraining from engaging in this kind of actions of lying and so forth. You could do so. With again, this should ground it upon a very good motivation. So making sure that your advices doesn't become a distraction for yourself and that of other beings. So without having a good intention or motivation, so if you try to advise someone, then this might create a more problem for yourself and the other beings. And if the other person is not really close, then there's nothing we could do. Just let it be. So long as their behavior is not offensive and it's not something that is harmful to us, just let go of it and just ignore. But
she's a lady friend. I know her for years, and she's getting worse and worse. Sometimes I just avoid her and stuff because she's got some bad feelings. I just don't like that.
good and good. To which they get in the inside, to measure the Moran Gene, she gives it on woman share to get it that to the gear, they do some illustrations.
Redande no parbo jadre le tane chibe kare lu maya no so ko be je de chemen do wa chana da so ne chine chu tane shiwa jina ne chu tane shiwa jina So the Nije Wang, you know, which our kind of corporate charges let the Kron Mishibi Wangi, charges let the Yurua. So they Nije, Satabo, Kron Ching, Mishitani. And the charges and the Nije. Koro charges let the Chichas of Maya, Tom of a child, Kron Rinala, the Regimoto came over you. Koro Chetan and Nutrition, when Nije and Regimoto, which are the others, so. Ronaldo so get another leg passato
So the important thing is here now, when he or she is lying or is not being true to you also, the important thing is that you should not generate anger or hatred or animosity towards that individual. It's very important. That's not going to help. It's in fact destroys your peace of mind, and by means of having that kind of motivations or intention, it might lead to the negative actions from your side, and that worsen the situation. So therefore, instead of getting angry towards that individual, you should have compassion by thinking that such individual who is engaging in this kind of actions, such as lying and so on, are unaware of the result of lying. Because the result of lying is unhappiness, which is suffering. So they are unaware of that. So therefore, they become habituated with engaging in, that kind of actions of lying and so on, the speech of lying. So therefore, it is worthwhile to have a compassion towards those people. If you have a question, we'll tell, otherwise we'll do the dedication.
The dedication first. On page 23 and 24, and then continue with auspicious wishes on page 28.
Today, what has been normal justice you.
Dagi jine sape
Yone Dango Kara Chabara Jose Losanta Waye, Nimbe Nimbo Saji
Saji Koki
Joshe Medora, Rera Nye Sanji Hindu Mede Boy, Rogananda Yana
Ewa Kundu
Yada Lama Drame Shiji Shiji Sadam Ji Yuden Razoni Luji Chabi Kuman Yudo
Idam Guru
Renamera Lavane Atayane
Jetsun Lame Kutse
Radenje Nama Dene Jojo Jamana Rosan Tembe Drume Sansonji Roye Mese Tando Ne Juroji
Dagi Wawe
Koye Chingazu Bedan Dewa Malu Juene Chere Zuma Dede Yandoyi Yabe Zede Pato Den Juroji
Jaka Pavu
Cheda Chemana Godo Zambo De Andiye Teda Gunje Jesu Daluji Givan Deda Daniela Tumo Deson Shige Jama Tanyeki Moa Kala Chodo Namade Tage Give Savati Vega Sambo Chijela Tumo Waraji